On this episode of ResiWeek, Savant completes their GE acquisition, CEDIA Expo's virtual event, and Crestron's Next. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 231, Lucrative Exposure.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Atlona, the go-to provider for AV signal distribution and control in corporate, higher education, and residential spaces.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek, your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week, we are pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. First, we have Mr. Jason Knott. He is the Chief Content Officer at CE Pro. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Then we have my partner in crime, Mr. Stephen Bronner. He is the owner of Pro Audio Georgia. How are you, sir?
Man, I am outstanding. It's a little wet down here today, but still a beautiful day to be in the GA, baby.
Very nice. If you are watching this on video, I did not celebrate Canada Day or July 4th overly hard. We're having color balance problems with my camera and a green screen, so we're working on it. Although I did celebrate both holidays because that's how I roll. The joys of marrying an American wife. All right, let's jump right in with a story that comes to us from CE Pro. Savant completes their GE lighting acquisition. If you've been following along, about, I think, 6 weeks ago, Mitchell will probably find the exact date and link for us in the show notes. We announced and covered the fact that Savant had plans in the works to acquire GE Lighting and leverage the brand name as well as the staff, the current HQ in Ohio, and a bunch of those smart products. And they have closed that acquisition, finished it today, although they have not disclosed any of the financial terms. So we'll have to wait and see if that happens, if ever. You never really know. Jason, let me start with you on this. As this is from CE Pro, which is very helpful, and the one and only Bob Archer. When you saw that this closed this quickly, that should be a very positive sign for people who have kind of been watching this from the sidelines. Is there anything additional or anything we should read into that other than it closed really quick?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this had been in the works for quite a while, and Savant had actually mentioned to me when they went public with the news that they were surprised that it hadn't leaked because it had been in the works for a while. So I'm not really familiar with how long the typical due diligence takes on something like this, but it does seem like they were able to pull it together pretty quickly.
Very good. Stephen, this is something that, when you talk to people outside the industry, they know, or some people know GE much more than they know your stereotypical smart home brands. What does that do now that this is, not just a likelihood to happen, now that this has happened? What does it do? They want to leverage the GE smart home kind of branding. Is GE a brand that, from a lighting standpoint, still has massive consumer notoriety?
Yeah, that's a negative, Ghost Rider. GE, they're about 20 years late on that acquisition. Here's the problem, and I don't see anything wrong with them acquiring it. I think it's cute, but the thing is that nobody really thinks of GE as smart homes. You see GE on your electric panel, you see GE on a light bulb, but smart home, I can admire Savant for going out and doing it, but I think what's going to come in the wash of this, if we talk about this in 6 months to a year, what's going to end up happening is the reason why it moves so fast is because GE knew what they had wasn't worth anything, and they wanted to sell it really quick. So
you don't give any credence to the fact that, Jason, correct me if you remember off the top of your head, less than 6 months ago, they announced their Wi-Fi based lighting control system, no neutrals, $50 a dimmer, nothing? That doesn't matter?
Strangely, it mattered so much that I have not seen a single blip about it anywhere. I'll have
Obviously,
to
you
look
don't
into
watch
that.
my show enough, friend.
I watch your show religiously, and
Just not
sadly,
enough.
you talk about a lot of irrelevant things. So I'm not exactly. No, seriously. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I think that I really believe in my heart, and I read the article, and I kind of did some internal searching on what I thought about the history of the product line, and honestly, I think that I never really put a lot of thought to how fast it closed because I knew that there were some backroom talks going on for a little while. But I mean, really, when I think of a GE smart home, I think of something I could walk into a Ace Hardware or a Home Depot and pick up on the shelf. It doesn't seem like a product that a company like Savant would normally be interested in. I think Savant's getting trounced in the industry right now because of brand recognition, and I think GE may help that. But the fact that GE can help your brand recognition is not saying very much for your brand recognition. So I don't think it's a big deal. We'll see. Like I said, in 6 months to a year, we'll see if this flushes out. But I think that it's good for GE. I want to see GE survive. I'm a big fan of that company. That's an old company. A lot of engineering, a lot of revolutionary inventions came out of that company. So I want to see them survive. But I just don't know. I think that Savant buying that one little sliver of GE and giving access to that one little piece is just not quite going to cut it. If I was Savant, I would have gone the complete opposite way. But of course, I don't own $1 billion company, so we'll see how it works out.
Well, it'd be interesting because brand 20 years ago. I'm old enough to remember when GE, Sears, and Home Director created, and Microsoft combined to create Home Director, which was the structured wiring, early in the structured wiring days. And I think the idea there was that they were going to have this structured wiring panel with this great brand name on it. And it actually ended up becoming IBM Home Director for a while up in Canada and survived for a lot longer. But it's interesting because 20 years ago, there was no such thing in this industry as Sonos. Yeah. And Sonos is an example of a consumer brand name that has made headway into the custom installation space. So, if you look at past history from 20 years ago, it wouldn't make a difference. But in the last 5 years, maybe there's a shift in that brand awareness level of the consumer, and it's going to drive people to the custom installation industry. Let's hope so.
Yeah, that's what I think we're all betting on.
I'd love the boost in business. Yeah, the boost in business would be great. But as a diehard Lutron guy, the news didn't really affect me. I will say this, and props to Savant for this one. Their lighting control, their breaker system, their lighting control system with the breakers and stuff.
Grace point.
That was actually pretty slick. Now, I don't know. I'm still interested to see how it works out for UL and electrical code. I think electricians are going to freak out. I know down here in the Southeast, electricians love us as long as we stay out of their way, and it's vice versa. So as soon as I tell an electrician I want to put a different breaker in your panel, I think that's going to cause quite an uproar. But I will give them props. I thought the technology was amazing. I think that it's got a little ways to go, but if it becomes as reliable as Lutron, I think they could really put a dent in the market by putting that system into homes.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to watch. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to the next story of the day. This comes to us from Residential Systems back on Canada Day, July 1st. CEDIA Expo virtual event has announced the dates. It will take place September 15th through the 17th. Emerald Expositions, which owns CEDIA Expo as well as Jason's company, has sent out essentially a digital save the date card to get smart at home. It helps when I get the tagline correct. Stephen, let me start with you on this one. You and I have been walking the show floor, covering CEDIA, we get together. This is the one time a year that you and I usually see each other face to face, and we spend 3-4 days eating and walking around the show floor and learning about tech and seeing our friends and doing all that stuff together. We are somewhat inseparable, I would say, at the show, for better or worse, depending on which one of us you like better. I know it's me. It's cool. The fact that this is going digital, we just saw Infocom last month run their Infocom event digitally, and it had some really good response as well as some poor response, just because that's the nature of the game these days. This is still a couple of months out. What do you see happening with this show? Do you think it's going to have the same kind of response that Infocom got? Do you think it'll be, what they expect it to be?
Unless AVNation needs me to do something for them, and I'm always willing to help, I probably will not be attending a single part of this thing. Honestly, I go to CEDIA for the relationships. And the fact that they made a decision to cancel the show, that's fine. They made a decision to cancel the show. Once you get to the point in your business where we are, and I have said this before, and I'll say it again, and it's no insult to people newer to the industry. But once you get to the point in business, if you don't know what's coming at CEDIA before it gets there, then you're not paying attention. Because you're either not paying attention or you don't care. There are very few things that I see at CEDIA from major manufacturers. Now, of course, there's that offshoot. There's that little guy in the corner. You're like, oh, crap, where'd that come from? Mm-hmm. Like the year Leaf was there, and the next thing you know, Control 4 bought them. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, whoa, where did these guys come from? So other than little things like that, I see very little that I wasn't expecting at CEDIA. I go for the relationships. So if there is a get-together where a bunch of us are going to get in a room and chat, that's fine. That's really not my thing. I hate web meetings. But what I will say is that I'm looking forward to next year. And I hope that whoever does this CEDIA virtual event, I hope it goes over really well. But I think what you're going to find is an extremely low and very poor involvement with this event, because as everyone knows, I'm a big supporter of CEDIA, and I push their certifications, and I'm everybody I talk to in our industry, I talk about CEDIA, and I can tell you that every single person that I have spoke to that normally would go to the CEDIA Expo has said exactly what I'm saying. They're just not going to participate because it's not the same. It's not the same. And as far as Infocom goes, I'll tell you that I kind of looked outside those 20 or 30 people that were tweeting all the time because they needed the recognition. Infocom had very poor turnout as well, from what I was told. Now, I haven't seen the inside numbers, but I don't know if I trust them anyway. But the thing is I think that CEDIA is going to see an extremely poor participation rate. But for all my people at CEDIA organization, I love you, and I'll see you guys next year.
Very good. Jason, when you see this, and Steve's not wrong, the engagement of digital events is tough. And it's, even myself, I was really hoping to spend a ton of time at the Infocom Connected event, and it just, I couldn't step away from life for 3 days. I still had to run the business. I still had to deal with kids. I gave a presentation at the event and had to shoo kids out of the room twice, even though they knew and their mother was trying to keep them out. They wanted to know what was going on. They wanted to, come and bug me. What has to happen for this event to be successful?
Yeah, I think nobody is going to disagree with anybody that believes that a physical event can be replaced by a virtual event. It just can't be. It's a totally different dynamic. And I think it's the wrong way of looking at this event, is not looking at this as a quote unquote replacement for CEDIA Expo, because that can't be replaced. That physical expo can't be replaced, the camaraderie, all that sort of stuff. But, and you're right about this from a standpoint of, Matt, you're competing. What is the expo looking for? It's in all honestly probably looking for a few hours of somebody's time versus 72 hours of time that you give at the physical expo. So I think, you got to look at it from the attendee standpoint of, without the investment of flying somewhere, without the investment of the hotel, from the exhibitor standpoint, without the investment of hundreds of thousands in some cases of them getting their booth put together, if they get some value out of this for the investment, and again, it'll be minimal compared to what other people get or what you would get at a physical event. So just to make the point, I think you have to set different expectation levels. You can't set an expectation level for this event comparing it to a physical event. It's different. So
let me ask you this then. If we're going to go down that vein, and I don't disagree, I think it's very hard, and having participated in InfoComm Connected, that was my takeaway too, is you can't expect any digital event or any happy hour or any Zoom meeting to be the same as sitting in a room at a table across from one another. It's close, but it's just not the same. If you look at the attendance numbers, if you will, from any of the last 5 years of Expo, do you expect to see a 25% involvement? Is that too low? Is that too much to ask?
It's a good question. I think that's high. I do the numbers on InfoComm even from what they normally had versus what the attendance numbers were for that event, I think you're probably looking at a similar level of engagement. But I don't know what the percentage was on that, but 25% is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see 25. I think we're probably looking somewhere around 14. At 14%, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think
Not
a
15,
lot of those
14.
Yeah, 14, 15, whatever. Yeah. I think a lot of that is going to be other industry people tuning in to see what other people are doing. So you'll have the Yamaha guys looking at, okay, what's Integra doing, or what, that kind of stuff. It's not going to be, there'll be some attendees there, but even with the attendance that's going to be there, I think that the exposure, what I like to call lucrative exposure, is going to be very, very low. But there again, I'm pessimistic about this because honestly, I think it's ridiculous. I don't think it should have been canceled. I made that very, very clear on the CEDIA forum as well as every other form of communication. Because last time I checked, the conference center there in Denver hasn't had one single patient in it. So this was all, it was done for whatever reason, and I'm not going to get into that. I think it had more to do with claiming insurance on a trade show than it did actual safety of people, but that's my own opinion. But I will say that the participation that they get is just going to be hard. And here's another reason why. If I go to CEDIA, I take 6 or 7 days and I travel. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of guys go for 2 or 3, maybe 4 days. Matt, you know this. I get there on, Monday,
Saturday,
or Tuesday.
usually.
Yeah, I get there way early. I'll walk the city. I'm on the show floor before I'm supposed to be every year because that's the kind of person I am. I feel like there's just not it for me to take a week off and go there and participate is a lot easier than if I try to do it from my office for 2 days. Because if I'm there, then I can say, hey, I'm detached, I'm out of town, I'm whatever. If I'm in my office, I'm available to my wife, my kids, my dog, my friends. I'm available to everybody. So it's just a different thing.
Yeah, the one other thing is to remember not to look at this from the viewpoint of just what happens during those 3 days, because similar to InfoComm, every single one of the sessions is going to be available all the way through the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So we really don't know. You really can't give a verdict on Infocom, quite frankly, until the end of the year.
Yeah.
And you see how many downloads did those booths get? How many views did they get? How many people attended those sessions that were uploaded? Not until the end of the year. This will have a similar thing. It's going to go all the way through the end of the year and be available with downloads and stuff.
Well, and exactly the same as we said kind of on the wrap up of Infocom Connected a couple weeks ago on AVWeek. What I'm most excited about from both the Avixa side and the CEDIA side is I'm trusting that this won't be a one-time deal as far as recorded events. I'm trusting that this propels them and shows the organizations that, yes, you can create a very valuable on-site environment. Stop shaking your head, Stephen. You can create a valuable on-site experience for education, and you can also make those available for people that can't be there. Whether there's a cost or something else, I don't really care. The fact that something like 95% of the taught sessions at both of these trade shows are never available after the fact online is atrocious. It's 2020. We can do this. This is simple to do. There's got to be a way, and there's got to be a way that we can, dare I say, convince the decision makers that this is something that they should do. Let's continue sort of in the virtual event vein and cover a quick story as we're wrapping up that comes to us from AVNation.tv. Crestron is going to host their first Crestron Next virtual event this fall. What is interesting to me is that this is taking place Tuesday, September 15th and Wednesday, September 16th. Now think back like 10 minutes ago. That's pretty much exactly when CEDIA Expo starts. Jason, let me start with you on this. I believe you were on my show a couple months ago when Crestron announced that they were coming back to CEDIA Expo. And this was before it was canceled. This was not before there was concern of it being canceled, but that was in the air. Was that, hey, they're doing this event and we're going to come and it also might be canceled. Who knows? Now they're running a 2-day virtual event that's going to showcase what's next in workplace education and home innovation in September. Kind of the same conversation that we just had, but this is a major manufacturer. What do they need to do to make this a successful event? And is this, nobody said anything about whether they're going to continue to participate in CEDIA Expo as well. Do you expect this to replace that?
Yeah, so take off the conspiracy theory hat for a little bit.
I wasn't trying to put it on. It just, it was fun timing.
So CEDIA Expo, as everybody knows, the original physical event was scheduled for September 8th, the day starting the Tuesday after Labor Day. Mm-hmm. And so CEDIA, Emerald Expo, our company was the one that moved our dates to the week after to avoid Labor Day, because they didn't feel that people, the Tuesday morning after they come back to work from the Labor Day holiday, are going to want to jump into the virtual event. So Crestron was actually coordinating with us and on their event, on doing this event all along on their dates, the 15th through 17th. CEDIA Expo was the one who moved on top of them. And so they're actually now discussing how they can cross-pollinate between the two events. So it wasn't somebody trying to show up somebody else. It literally was
luck of the draw.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And I wasn't trying to pull too much into those two things. It just, again, it's interesting, which is why you're here for background. Stephen, when you see this, I was trying to get confirmation just before we were going into the show from a couple of people in the know on this about how much of this was going to be residential versus commercial versus kind of their new work from home segment, which is bringing things like Mercury into the home environment. When you see this, when you see, again, they're not the first manufacturer to do this. They probably won't be the last. Is this going to kind of, for the foreseeable future, be the new norm in the way in which and the manner in which manufacturers are going to kind of go to market?
I don't think so. I think Crestron is a very smart company. They've been around for a while. They have done a lot of things in the business world to secure business that is the walls that they have put up are very hard to overcome, government. But I will say that I don't think I don't buy into this is the new normal garbage. I just don't. And I've had several people that I've talked to around the world say that that's because I'm from the southeastern U.S. and we don't think this is the end of the world and we're not taking it serious, which is not true. I am taking it serious, but it is not the end of the world. I do not think there is a new normal. This is too inconvenient for it to be normal for people. People do not like to be inconvenienced, which is why we are in the industry that we are in. If people minded inconvenience, we'd all be broke. So, this is a nice thing that they're doing. I think Crestron is very intelligent to stay on the map during this. Not that I think it would hurt them much if they weren't. But with other companies showing technology and things of that nature, I think it's intelligent for Crestron to do this, and I can't wait to see how it goes. It's no secret I won't be attending, but I will be tracking kind of what goes on, because I keep up with what Crestron's doing because it's a powerful company in our industry. I just don't, like I said, man, I don't buy into the new normal. And I can tell you that I've been on several talks and things with CEDIA boards and stuff like that. And I've had private messages. My opinion is actually a lot more popular than people want to say, but nobody wants to catch the backlash for it. So I'll say what I just said, and I'll say what I just said, and people will say, "Oh no, that people are dying." Yeah, people are dying. Yes, every day, even before COVID. But I think that we'll be back to normal within a few months. Possibly November 4th, but that's a whole nother conspiracy theory if you follow U.S. politics. But anyway, I think that, we're good. Crestron's going to do some great stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of it. And we'll see what other manufacturers, it's interesting. I never put the two together with the CEDIA dates and the Crestron dates. I think that was pretty cool of you, sir. Because very few people conspiracy about the blue squirrel like I do, and it's good to see someone else is on board. But
not exactly where I was going, but sure.
but I think that I think we're in the age where people still want to get their information. Manufacturers still want to put it out, so this is not surprising from Crestron, and I hope the event goes extremely, extremely well for them. And I wish that other manufacturers would take note. That would be great. Hey, this company's doing this. They're the biggest one. Maybe we should take note. I think that I'd like to see this from other manufacturers, but we'll see how it turns out. It'll be a success. Crestron very rarely fails publicly. I stress publicly because, they have had their times, but they very rarely fail publicly. If they do a public event, it's going to go over really, really, really well. I remember when they rolled out their shades and stuff at CEDIA, and it was front and center, which their booth always was. Front and center, you walked in, and the first thing you saw was, oh my God, Crestron has shades. And I heard about Crestron shades for a year. So I'm sure whatever they do is going to work out great. I look forward to seeing it. I won't see it, but I look forward to hearing about it.
Just to kind of nail down Stephen's point, our research shows us people want to go to physical events.
Yeah.
So I agree. The new norm, quote unquote, which I hate that terminology. Also, I think this is what's going to happen this year. But people really want to go to physical events, and I think once this vaccine comes, which they're saying is going to, we're going to be very quickly back to normal.
And I think what's interesting,
not the new normal, the old normal.
Yeah, the normal. The normal. What I do find interesting about the Crestron event is they're planning to announce some new products and some new things for both commercial and residential at this event. And kind of one of we don't have a ton of time to get into it, but one of the things that is intriguing about all of this is forcing manufacturers to kind of change up some of their product cycles as far as releases. So no longer is it necessarily an ISE release date in February, or a CES release date in January, or a Infocom release date in June, or a CEDIA Expo release in September. So it'll be very interesting to see if that portion of what's been going on continues into the future. So
well, remember, it's the old chicken or the egg discussion that's been happening for years. Is, do new products exist because trade shows happen, or do trade shows exist because new products happen? But you're exactly right. Yeah.
Yes. I'd like to say something about that.
We don't have enough time. I'm sorry.
Yes, we do. We have time for me to say this. Excuse you, Mr. Canada. So it has been almost impossible to get supplies. So there are a lot of manufacturers, and I know, once again, I don't own a $1 billion company, but here's the thing. Everything is sold out. So if you had new technology and everybody was selling, all the integrators I know are killing it right now. I'm talking, if they could get materials, they'd be killing it even more. All the supply houses are out of stock. Everybody's out of stock. I went to Best Buy today. Not a single printer on the shelf. Not one. From the $100 to the $700, all gone. We are a consumer-based society. People want to spend money. They want to have technology. They want the convenience. But these manufacturers are holding out on releasing new product. And I think that may be a supply chain issue, but for some of them, it's not. I know for a fact because I talked to them. It's not a supply. They're making a decision not to release it during this time because they feel like it won't get the response it normally would. That sounds crazy to me. I mean, if I had new technology, I'd be releasing it right now and people be selling it because everybody's at home buying tech. But the release dates on all these products have changed. And a lot of it has nothing to do with what the manufacturers want to do. It's supply line. We can't get anything. It's crazy. Yamaha, something as simple as a Yamaha MusicCast amp or MusicCast preamp, they're allocated right now. They're allocated. So these warehouses that normally get 50 or 60 on a shipment are getting 5 and 8. And that sucks. So just keep in mind, anybody
even more
listening.
Entertaining is that even more entertaining, the lumber yards are running out of lumber.
Well, yeah, because home building is, and everybody's adding a deck to their house.
Everything is short. It's not just technology. It's everything.
Yeah.
We have projects that are delayed because the contractors can't buy material to finish what we need them to build. So we can put the tech in.
I saw some data that remodeling has maintained its same trajectory. It has not slowed down at all. And I was just on the phone last week with Snap AV, and they told me they're absolutely having supply chain issues with their Arachnus routers and things like that, just from high demand. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, anybody listening to this, if you feel like you're falling apart because you can't get parts, brother, we're all in that boat together, brother or sister, to my girl Heather. But we're all in that boat together. So, everybody keep tight, keep pushing. And when the parts come available, the customers will still be there.
Very much so. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap it there. Thank you both so much for joining us. Jason, if people want to connect with you, learn more about CE Pro or Emerald, how do they do that?
They can always go to cepro.com, or they can follow me on Twitter at JasonW.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bronner, thank you so much for joining us again. I think if people want to connect with you and learn more about Pro Audio Georgia, how do they do that?
They can reach out to me at ProAudio_GA on Twitter. They can reach out to me at ProAudioGA.com. It's Stephen at ProAudioGA.com. Look on the website, ProAudioGA.com, to get the phone number. Call me. I love talking to integrators. I love helping other businesses succeed. And I like sharing ideas, especially during these times when we all need some new ideas. I'd love to talk to you, so reach out if you need to.
Very good. Thank you again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and pretty much every other social platform. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of our other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We're extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.